Welcome to Three is a Crowd. I'm Julie.
And I'm Terence.
So, how does anyone decide to have another kid?
We're a couple debating this decision for ourselves and inviting you to listen in.
It's not weird.
It's a little bit weird. Episode 3.
Whoop whoop.
So, last episode we did the pro list, and this episode was supposed to be me giving Julie all the cons of having a third baby, all the reasons why we should not have another kid.
But you took too long coming up with your list.
No, that is not what happened. That is not what happened.
You can't prove it. We didn't record it.
No, what we're learning as we recorded these episodes is that you can't really plan how these conversations go.
Especially when you're talking about real life.
No, because real life happens and real conversations were happening, and in between episode 2 and what this episode was supposed to be, you came home from a work trip.
I came back from a work trip.
You and I having a cup of coffee.
We were eating a rusk.
And I'm not sure if we lost our minds or we got divine inspiration, but everything changed.
Everything changed, and I submitted to the floor, aka you and me, what we call the proposal.
Yes.
And this episode kind of explains a little bit about the headspace we were in and what the proposal is and how we decided to take it up.
The other thing that you learn while recording and doing these episodes is that the more these conversations happen, the more vulnerable you have to become, because the more real it gets, right? Like the more you get into the real nitty-gritty of where you, Julie, are at and where I'm at and how that affects each other. So
exactly. And as grateful as we are for all of you who are listening, having now released 2 episodes and got the feedback, we're so grateful. Thank you. Please keep listening
and sharing
tell
other people.
But we're also just a little bit terrified because
we say things in this episode,
and it becomes more and more of an insight into our very, very personal lives. So the disclaimer that we put at the front of every episode, and will continue to do so, this is not a prescription on how to make a decision on whether or not to grow your family. This is our personal experience, and we appreciate you listening with as much of a non-judgmental ear as you're able to offer us.
Make it a safe space for us, please.
Please.
So here we go, episode 3.
The proposal.
So we've changed places for this episode.
We have.
Because Julie was cold. And she thought being in the bed would be a better spot.
It's significantly better. We have electric blankets. We have hot chocolate.
Yeah, and Julie made this hot chocolate, and so it's not the best hot chocolate. I make the best hot chocolate. Okay, so the problem is that we have recorded a series of conversations up to this point. But 2 days ago, you decided that we were just going to
hold on.
You were just going to put a fire, and you were going to just
speed the process up.
Yeah, you were going to. Do you know the movie Stargate?
Stargate. I don't know if I do.
Where they discover a way to create a portal to another planet.
Okay, who's in it?
Oh, it's people you would... Never mind, it's an older sci-fi movie. But the point is, they find a way to skip everything and to just jump into another place, right? And I feel like that's what you did on Monday. You made a Stargate to go to, instead of going through the process of this whole conversation.
No. But before we start discussing this, because
should we even discuss
I'm
this?
not sure if we should discuss this.
Should we even be talking
I
about
don't know
this?
if we should be recording this. I would...
Because we since the last time we recorded any of our conversation, my point is we've had several intense conversations that have made several leaps forward in the decision-making process.
Correct.
So do we even have anything to talk about at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do we just record this and reserve the right to never let it air?
For the future's sake, can I just give some context to where we're at right now?
Sure.
Okay, so we've been having these back and forth conversations about whether or not we should have a third baby, right? You've wanted one. I've been really hesitant and reluctant for good reason.
Yeah.
Okay, both sides have had good reasons.
both sides have also acknowledged the
value of the other side.
the value of the other side and the pitfalls of their own decision.
Yes. And so we've wanted to get a resolution to this conversation, because it's been a difficult one.
It has been a hard one.
Like there's been a lot of like very passionate and strongly worded conversations, and I've had over the last, let's say, 2 years.
Correct. We started this conversation in earnest in 2020, and then through a whole bunch of personal life situations.
Because the only thing that is the most sexy thing we could go through is a global pandemic. That's what we thought.
Yes.
Do you know what we should do while the world is in absolute turmoil? Bring another person into it. That was your thinking.
Oh, that was my thinking. I
Well,
believe
yeah,
it
'cause
was
that was-
you
no,
who
no, no,
brought the thinking up in that time.
Oh yeah, it probably was
It
me.
was you.
Oh,
It was
me.
you who
Yeah.
broached the topic.
Yeah, it was
And
me.
I said no. I had an absolute meltdown because I have been the one kind of wondering the same thing for years, and you said to me, you could never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, imagine a world where you might entertain that possibility. Do you remember that? Was this all feeling a bit fuzzy now?
It's all feeling very fuzzy. I believe you. I don't think if either of us are going to remember this with detail, it's going to be you. So I'm not arguing on that point.
And
but
so then I was like, okay, this is never going to happen. Kind of feeling sad about it, but
also maybe I don't remember this very clearly because it doesn't paint me in the best light. So
sure, but it's okay, because I think there's parts of this conversation that are not going to paint either of us in the best light. And I think what we're realizing is, I don't know, like, it's not as cut and dry as that. Like, it's not, there's no hero or villain to our story as it currently stands, and all that it's been. Like, we both are in it. We both have wanted to always honor the other person's feelings whilst also having real feelings of our own. But we've neither of us have been malicious in this ever.
no, I don't think there's ever been malice or feelings of being hard done by the other person, or we've always tried to find a compromise that works for both of us. Unfortunately, this has been the big struggle, and this is where we find ourselves right now, is the fact that we didn't have a compromise.
Yeah.
You know, when we get to a point of one person not wanting to have a baby and another person wanting to have a baby, one person loses out. We didn't see a way that there was a workable compromise.
Correct. And you know, just to give us a bit of credit, because I can imagine if we do release this, you know, people could potentially judge us harshly, which, you know, I'm feel particularly anxious about. This has been we're on the same page for most of things, right? Would you say? Our big decisions, our life aspirations,
we've
our intentions in terms of how we treat each other.
Yeah,
and
without too much conversation, like it doesn't take a lot for us. We're either pretty much on the same page at the outset with most big things, or it's very easy to get each other on the same page.
Exactly. And so like this has been like our one thing. And I think even though it's been hard, I think we've tried to be gracious and understanding. It's not led to us having massive screaming matches about or anything like that, right?
No. I mean, there was that time when I felt like I wasn't entirely being heard, and partly because I wasn't I wasn't being heard because I wasn't verbalizing correctly.
Yeah.
And also, again, to be fair, like you're saying, I've kind of flip-flopped on this over the space of 5 years.
I flip-flopped.
Yeah, exactly. But so that was the only time when there was any sort of intense argument about it was that period. But we very quickly settled down into a space where, again, same page of being maybe not not being on the same page of what we want, but being on the same page of how we go about making this decision.
Our approach and our sense of like responsibility. I don't know if that's the right word, but to the other person's feelings and headspace, you know, because we care about each other.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the big problem, right? Because for me, logically, there are a million, like we've spoken about before, there's a million reasons not to have a third child.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all of the pros of having an additional child, we already have with child number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like, there's a practical diminishing of returns as you have more children, in my mind.
Yeah.
But the costs are exponential. When I say costs, I mean actual monetary cost of having to get a bigger car, having to figure out more space in our house, or even changing where we live, having to figure out how to get childcare. There's all that physical stuff, but there's also a big mental cost, you know. So with my fear of having the mental health crisis that I had after number 2, so there's all of that, and then weighing up the feeling of regret and loss that you might have to carry for the rest of your life. That was the difficult thing for me, was how do I balance those 2 viewpoints out? And being the bad guy, you know, being the person that effectively is going, too bad, you're going to feel like this for the rest of you're potentially going to feel like this for the rest of your life. Too bad, that's just the way it is. That's never sat right with me. And I think that's also why we've got to this point where we are now, where I'm always trying to find opportunities to keep the door open for the conversation.
Yeah.
Because if there's a way I could be okay with this, then that would release me from being the bad guy.
Sure.
In my mind, which it's not that it's not you going, Terence, you're the bad guy, shame on you, you're making me feel like this, but it does feel like I'm the one that has to bring up the negatives all the time. And again, if I was like, yes, I desperately want a third baby, you would be 100% game.
Yeah.
You know, so it's entirely my fault that you feel the sense of loss and regret, and a person missing in our family, like all of those negative feelings, are because I am too logical and practical and fearful.
Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, again, I think because it's all your arguments are so practically based, you know, if you were married to anyone else, you know, who was like, oh no, I'm 2 and done, like done, there would be no problem. So your viewpoint is not wrong. It's just there's just this kind of disconnect between kind of where the 2 of us are going with this.
So the solution is we need to be married to different people. Is that okay, so do you want to talk about where we're at right now and what our last few days have been like? Maybe not in detail, but some explanation of where we're at now.
I don't even know how to start, because I kind of, part of me is like, it was spontaneous, but I don't know if that's entirely true, because on account of us talking about this for 3 years.
Yes, it's spontaneous. It was sudden, but not spontaneous.
Yes. And I wonder, there's a whole bunch of things that have probably influenced it, actually.
So you were away for work this weekend. So,
I was away for work.
And we both really struggled.
Yeah.
We struggled being apart.
Yeah, which is, it's not that we don't normally struggle, but we missed each other a lot. And
we're used to each other being away for work. It's not a strange thing. Both of us travel for work quite a bit. And we're very accustomed to it. And it wasn't it was what? You were gone 48 hours?
Yeah, it was a weekend. A bit longer than that. Yeah, but yeah.
So it wasn't an insane amount of time. And I was busy the entire time. It's not like I'm sitting pining at home. I had social things to do. I had to, look after the boys. I was also feeling sick the whole weekend, so like I was chilling. I was fine. You were obviously incredibly busy.
Insane. And we'd
Partying
also
it up Saturday night.
Oh yeah, totally. And there'd also been some family stuff happening. We have a family member who's ill at the moment, and so there was a lot of worry about home. Came back, really missed you.
Do you think also the fact that our boys have been in a really good place lately? So like our home life with our boys, like we're having a lot more family dinners together. Our boys are, I feel like they're responding to us when we talk to them about school better.
I don't know. I came back and I just felt immense gratitude for the life that we have. Like,
why?
Immense gratitude for our family, because there was nowhere I would rather be than with you and with the boys at home.
But did something happen over the weekend maybe? Was there a conversation that made you feel like, wow, actually I should be really lucky, I should feel really lucky? Or
I mean,
because usually a sense of gratitude comes from like something happens, or were you just like, or was it just a case of just realizing where you're at?
I think obviously that my work is in the motherhood space. There were obviously conversations that were had that were deep and meaningful, but they're not unique. As in my work.
Yeah, this is something you've been doing for like a decade.
Happening
so
often.
Yeah. Was it because you came home to a clean home?
Oh gosh, and I was like,
kids who were happy and.
No, I just came home and felt, it's interesting because I actually just felt really at peace with where we are, which is like would lead to the conclusion.
Which is unlike you because you're a warrior.
I am a warrior, but I came back and just was like, I love my life, I love my family, I love my husband. And it was interesting because I think my logical brain sabotages. And so I think if we post this, anyone listening, they would think that the logical sentence that follows is, and she realized she had everything she ever needed. And so the decision was no.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like where it's going?
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm so grateful for this family, this home I have. Why would I want to change this at all? Which is, again, one of my big arguments.
I know. And we both felt it.
Like,
that's not where we're sitting today.
So I'm still a little bit confused about how it got to this point. To be fair, to be completely honest, I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
Even though I was actively involved with it, so this is not me shirking responsibility, but the like I said, because it was a sudden transition from like we were talking about in the last episode, like grappling with the for and against and the context of our lives and all of the things that come with making this decision to hell with it.
I just had a gut feeling, and I've been trying not to follow my gut my whole life. Yeah.
And this is a problem because I've been trying to help you follow your gut more, and now it's biting me in the butt.
No, I mean that is the honest truth of it. I was like, I came back and felt at peace, felt happy, and also felt that there will be a million reasons to say no. They're all valid. There is no and if we try and fully logic ourselves, for so long I've been wanting the absolute controlled method of, we're going to make a decision that we feel 100% ready and prepped, got the answers for every question that you have.
Yeah.
I thought that is what I would need in order to feel ready to pull the trigger on this. Right? Like, you'd be able to say, what about this? And I'd be like, you solve it like that.
Yeah.
I do have some of those answers, but there's a lot that I don't have. But what I felt was an overwhelming sense of, we make such a great team. We have such a great life. We have such a great family. This is not going to break us. Seriously.
And again, what's funny about this is that, like, you've spent your entire life trying to find your gut, and go with it and
Yeah.
trying to listen to your gut more. And now
and to not feel ashamed because I feel I think we discussed in the first when we recorded our first episode, I felt a sense of being ashamed, like a sense of shame when I found out that I was pregnant with Eli.
because we didn't do it in a controlled, mature
planned
way.
and matured way. And I have spent my entire adult life.
Even though the way we did it was very mature.
Yeah. Stop it. Our parents could be listening to
Oh,
this.
I'm sure they're aware of how we made Eli.
No, but really, Terence, it was
you felt
I just
kind of shamed.
I did, and because it wasn't the right way, women like me. I don't know what like me.
What does that even mean?
No, I
Yeah,
don't. I
yeah,
know, but
yeah.
mature, well-respected,
Yeah.
decent young ladies don't, get knocked up by their husbands unattained. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even
It's all
though
part of it should be all part of the plan.
planned and approved, and even though, and this is all my own deep insecurity stuff, because it's a few people said things, as we said, but for the most part we got a lot of support. But I've held on to that narrative. It's got to look a certain way, and I kind of realized that would be the block, and I would regret that. I would regret if that is
The reason
one
why.
of the reasons why it didn't happen is because I had some sort of obligation to hypothetical audience around decisions about our own parenting or family journey. Do you know what I mean?
And what you innately feel like you want and need, as if it's anyone else's business.
Exactly. So I've spent the whole time thinking,
this is why we know that person who's had 12 kids.
Yeah.
Like, you should talk to her, because I'm sure she must get a lot more overt judgment than you would have got because you fell pregnant with a second child.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But I think the thing that I was getting to was the fact that while you're trying to find out how to listen to your gut and ignore the silent judgment, I've been trying to learn how to not be impulsive and how to make wise choices slowly.
Do you feel like you've been impulsive now?
Yes. I think because pretty much all of my life has been me making decisions based on gut, and 80% of them working out, and even the ones that don't work out, I figure out a way to make it work out. But a lot of that led to my mental health problems later on, where I'm like, oh, it'll work out, it's all good, and then pushing off making the hard, wise decision for later me to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? So very much ADHD kind of behavior, very impulsive, not long-term thinking, just current, whatever current, my current mood is the right mood, and it's making that decision, whatever, also makes everyone happy around me.
Yeah.
So I've spent a very long time, especially with this decision, trying to be the kind of person you wished you were with Eli. Trying to be that calm, thoughtful, let's make a plan for all the eventualities.
How's that working out for you?
Well, no, actually, in a weird way, it's working out for me okay, because and I'll get there, but I also didn't want to make this decision. This is gonna sound selfish. I wanted to make it for me, not to make you happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which is
I appreciate that.
Which is, I think, where a lot of our early marriage trouble, as our marriage was kind of settling down, a lot of that came from me not having a strong enough will to do or say something that I was worried would make you unhappy, even if it was fine.
Yeah, or
right?
a sense of self.
Yeah, exactly. And not that not that I should have been more selfish, but actually me being a yes man to you was selfish, because it wasn't me being the person I need to be a good, strong, independent person that is a proud partner of yours.
Yeah.
Right. So not wanting to do that again.
Yeah.
Not wanting to feel like I'm just being dragged along by your coattails and by like your sheer force of will and personality, which is strong. You have a very strong personality.
Correct.
It's one of the things I love about you. So this whole process has been very helpful for me to make sure that if there ever was a case of a sudden decision to be made, that, you know, that I could, at the very least, inform my gut with those decisions, with those thoughts, with that practical thinking. So I think that's where we led to this point where a few weeks ago, you talk to me, you bring this idea that you have of a compromise, which I think for me was the big block, right? The big thing that I was struggling with was that there was no compromise. Either we go for a third baby and we do it because you want a third baby, or we don't because I don't want a third baby. Either you live a life of regret and feeling like you're missing out on something, or I feel like I've been pushed into something that maybe is going to make my life harder just to make you happy, which again, I didn't want to do, right?
Yeah, and I didn't want you to do.
And of course you didn't, exactly, like that.
And you didn't want me to live, yeah.
No, and this is where that complexity comes in, because I know you didn't want me to just go, okay, cool, we'll do what you want to do. Right? Because again, this is one of the spaces where we need to be 100% in it for it to work.
Absolutely.
So then you come to me with this compromise. And
I feel like the compromise is a whole...
it's compromise is
no.
compromise
It's
is
its
wrong
own
word.
episode. I was going to say we got to wrap this circle one
No,
up.
I think it's important because the context of where we're at now, for me, that moment is the moment where something is said, where my gut goes yes immediately, and all of that previous thinking and engagement and conversation combine to form an immediate decision. So I've already made my decision weeks ago. It's just that this week you're finally comfortable with that. And I think that's what happened.
Okay.
So I think we need to talk about the compromise.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Okay, so I've wanted to have a vasectomy for a while.
Yeah.
Because you have been all of the issues around contraception contraceptives has been on your plate.
Yeah.
Everything else you've tried has had some sort of negative impact on you.
Yeah.
And so
we've tried a bunch of things.
We've tried quite a few things.
We have.
And it's been 14 years now.
Correct.
Of you trying various things and having various
health implications,
health implications, mental health implications. And so when we stopped the last one, I was like, you've done enough. I need to take control of this. I need to take charge of this. Because
that was almost a year ago.
That was almost a year ago. And I felt that was fair, right? I felt like you've sacrificed enough for us not to have children or for us not to have a child, with an unplanned child, that it's up to me now to do it. But unfortunately, the only option that I really have to truly have a level of control and to have a level of
freedom
certainty,
and I think that we're safe. Yeah,
certainty and freedom is a vasectomy.
Correct, but it's also permanent.
The problem is that it's pretty permanent. The unvasectomy thing doesn't
reversal,
always.
Yeah.
The reversal doesn't always take, and there's cost implications to that. But again, I wanted a vasectomy. You, of course, have pushed against the vasectomy because it's the door closing, being locked, and the key being thrown away. Okay, so this is where the compromise comes in. So now you can talk to me about the compromise. Because also, I'd like to know where you came, because you haven't really spoke to me about where your head was at, where you came up with this compromise. You just kind of brought it up to me over supper one day.
Dinner. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about a way for us to. I think I had multiple motivations. The one was to sort of take the heaviness away from the conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of direction and timeline, because we could talk on about this for years, and the reality is that I have just turned 36, and
a very young 36.
but and of course people fall pregnant, right into their 40s.
Yeah, but,
I know
but
that.
in your face, you're a young 36.
Oh, thanks, babe. But I feel 36. Ultimately, we kind of can't go on this forever. Not only am I getting older, but our children are also getting older. And I had never envisioned that I was going to have teenagers and then a baby. I would always want to have primary school. I just like the timeline is basically kind of marching on.
The gap is already quite big.
It is quite big. It will be, our youngest is 7. And so I thought, okay, how do we... The reality is how do we give ourselves like a trial, an opportunity to kind of chuck something out there where we're taking a brave step, but we're also leaving a little bit of it up to chance.
Yeah, taking a little bit of the decision out of our hands.
Yeah. And so I kind of, I guess, suggested the compromise, known as a compromise. Otherwise, I guess, I don't know if ultimatum is the right. No, ultimatum is the wrong thing.
Ultimatum's wrong.
A throw of the dice, though.
A roll of the dice.
Roll of the dice.
The Russian roulette. Of fertility.
Correct. Option 1 is we give ourselves a solid month of giving it a go, knowing that definitely at our age, it's unlikely that...
Not massively unlikely.
Well, it's not... I'm not 23. There are dips and like that it's going to happen. There is a chance it could happen in the first month.
It's still a high chance, but not unlikely. No, sorry. It's not a given.
It's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed, and it is
There's
a roll of the dice.
There's still a sense of like it's a roll of the dice, and if it happens, it happens.
Yes.
And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yes. And then at the end of that month,
we book a vasectomy.
Yeah.
The other option was we go for the vasectomy, but one of the things with the vasectomy is that you need to effectively use an additional form of protection for 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Afterwards, because there could still be some swimmers.
Yeah, isn't it like 50 ejaculations or something like that?
I mean, I was just being...
we're adults talking to adults. But yeah, there's you got it.
Yeah, there's a chance. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
But the thought was we booked the vasectomy in, but we're not careful. But the idea, you don't have to be... I mean, it's not the same as not having a vasectomy, right? There's still a chance, which we could play risk with,
and an ever decreasing chance over the months. So I didn't like the ever decreasing chance because I wouldn't like the process to drag over like 4 months, and that last month you like hanging on to like a slither of hope. Whereas the 1 month really giving it a good go, giving it a proper, like giving it as much opportunities as possible. When that month is over, at least there's a hard line where
we've given hope a good chance.
But we can close the book.
Yeah.
And so I like that compromise. I like this roulette because it takes away the decision from either of us to an extent. So it's not Terence gets his way, Julie gets her way. It's we're rolling the dice, seeing what happens, and both of us will be content eventually with whatever the decision is. It also makes it like you're saying, it makes it there's an end point to this conversation. Correct. And from that point onwards, once the vasectomy is done and the timeline is the period is over, we can then continue with our sex life as normal, and we can still be in control of that, and hopefully joyfully. So I really like that, and the moment I heard that, I was like, yes, love that idea. And on the one hand, it feeds my current need for us to make a thoughtful decision on how we're going to do this. And on the other hand, it feeds my ADHD gut instinct of rolling the dice. Let's see what happens. We could do and I feel like there's a lot more fun element to it.
Yeah, I was going to say for me, it's the best of multiple worlds. It's in one sense, if you're hearing this for the first time, it sounds crazy, right? It does sound a little bit like, they're putting two reckless decisions out there, but we're not, because we've spoken about this for so long. We had to figure out some sort of way, but we wanted a way that I think was in line with us and in line with our marriage. We are two people who are happily married. This is not, as much as this has been a point of tension, it's not a straw breaking the marriage kind of back. If I thought that we play we go for the month and I fall pregnant and you're devastated by it, I would never suggest it.
Right. And I think that's what happened on Monday. I think on Monday you finally understood that I would, because of this way of thinking, this way of doing it, of us just putting it out there and whatever happens.
Yeah.
That wasn't me being scared. That was me being quite excited at the gamble.
Yeah.
As you started to realize more and more, actually, no, he's really like excited by this idea. That's when you were like, okay.
Yeah. I just thought we had to find some sort of way to navigate through this chapter of our life
without making the other person the bad guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even being able to, like, if any couple can like eke out some joy while doing this, like, it should be and would be us. We've worked really hard on this marriage and on our kind of communication style, and we've been through some really hard chapters that we very clearly, so we've had so much discussion. Whilst Monday happened quite spontaneously, it was off the back of so much conversation.
That's what I'm saying. It's suddenly, not spontaneously.
Okay, true, but it's not like we there was a bunch of maybe unsaid things that we just knew. Like, we knew that this was going to be, the tone of this month is supposed to be fun and exciting.
Yeah.
And we could both trust each other into leaning into that. It wasn't going to be, I think if I had any sense that this would have been like me really pulling you into this thing, kicking and screaming, but I would never have been able to do it.
But over the last few days, you have needed a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah.
That this isn't me being scared.
Yeah.
That I'm 100%. This is my, like, I'm in this decision. I've made it apart from you.
Yeah.
I think this is the right way to go. I feel excited by this.
Yeah.
I've needed to kind of
I'm
emphasize
still human, but I think the base understanding for me is not, this hasn't been like a resentful conversation.
No.
And I wouldn't have chosen that. And I think for me, that's also really reassuring about where we are at when we're thinking about the state of our family, and on either fork of the road. Like that there is no resentment if it turns out that there is a baby that results out of this. It'll be a well-loved, embraced, excited, we'll be...
I won't be blaming you for the hardships that come.
No, we'll figure it out and we'll make the best of it.
And there will be hardships.
Yeah, of course there will be. And there will be hardships if it doesn't work out and you end up having a vasectomy and I have to kind of, still, it's not like it's, whilst I'll be at peace with it, it's not going to erase the sadness immediately,
No. And that's part of the ongoing conversation that we're going to need to have, is that if the odds or if the dice don't fall in your favor, how do we help you experience those feelings and work through those feelings and understand those feelings to a place where you can feel content and joy and not feel like you're missing out. And this is something we spoke about earlier today, actually, off mic, was if that did happen, we need to, or before that happens, we need to talk about what support you need from me to help you through that. Like, what can I do to like help you acknowledge that pain, maybe, or how can I sit with you in that space?
I think I just need to, at this point, I just need to know that you're there and that you understand that could be an eventuality. I don't want to overthink it yet, not because I'm in denial of that.
Because we're having so much fun right now.
Yeah, because I don't want to ruin the thing that we're in. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in a particular space at the moment.
Yeah.
And if it comes to that, I feel like I've got your understanding that you don't think I'm going to be, like, you're expecting me to have a human emotion, potentially. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'm just like, okay, you know.
I have a sneaky feeling that if it doesn't happen, because of the way we've done this, you will have a strange satisfaction.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have closure.
You're probably right.
But if that doesn't happen, if you don't have closure, like the space is open for you not to have the closure.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't be shocked if you were like, okay.
Neither would I. Because so much about everything about this has felt different, and it's felt like, the only way I can describe it, as the mental way, you know, the right amount of fun, but also
a little bit
like,
of craziness.
Yeah, a little bit of craziness, but also underlying, you know, there is actually, like, we're still two responsible human beings. Yes, we might not be making the most, if you're looking at it just from economic point of view or something, the most responsible decision, but we're responsible in the way that we interact with each other. We're responsible to our marriage and to our family, and that's been, I mean, I back us, you know. I think we've always well.
We've always taken educated leaps.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a point where you can't think anymore. You can't think yourself into doing a decision like this. Sometimes you just got to walk across the invisible bridge.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing right now.
That is what we're doing right now. To be continued. That's it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening in.
As always, this is our story, so everything applies to us, but might not apply to you. And in fact, we would love to hear about the things that do apply to you and about your story. So tell us about how you came to the decision to have your next child, or whether or not you're grappling with this issue yourself. Send us your thoughts to aphrodaddyct@gmail.com.
Or get hold of us on Instagram, or the gram, like the cool people call it.